G'day. I'm Danny Crouch and welcome to GenXY. I'm from Generation X.
I'm Malcolm Paynter. I'm from Generation Y.
Thus, we get GenXY, which is also XY is the male chromosome. So it's two blokes having a bit of fun talking about whatever.
Just two blokes
comes our
talking
way.
shit, really, isn't it?
Yeah. We've got a few segments. The main one's the first one, which this week we're going to be touching on
Relationships,
friendships,
dating,
dating.
relationships, anything. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, so as we do each week, we're going to touch on some questions. So there's general questions we ask each week.
Mm-hmm.
So starting with, in your generation, the penthouse. What's the best thing about relationships and friendships and dating in your generation?
It's very. I'd imagine it's been a lot easier than compared to your generation with Tinder and whatnot.
Okay, is that what makes it the best?
Yeah, it's definitely a contributing factor. I mean, you got thousands of girls at your fingertips that you can just swipe through, as opposed to going out to the pub and trying to pick someone up.
And how's that going for you?
Not very well, obviously.
So how does that make it the best?
Well, okay. Well, let's compare it. Well, I think the best point of reference is to have your opinion, because you lived you lived through the time where you didn't have that access to your fingertips. Do you think it's a good idea to have, an app like Tinder to scroll through?
No.
Doesn't make it easier at all?
I'm yet to hear too many people here that it works. It seems a bit fake.
Yeah.
But that's not my generation.
Yeah.
My generation is completely different.
Oh, it's a struggle. Look, well, put it this way. I'm a 5'8" bloke. I live in the Gold Coast, which is full of gym junkies. A lot of the time, Sheilas are looking for their, right type of guy. They might be, 6 foot, have big muscles and whatever else. So when you come across a profile like mine, obviously, we're going to struggle a little bit.
Well, it's pretty narrow-minded.
Well,
and judgmental.
I agree, but it's what's happening.
Yeah, and
yeah, I mean,
I'm making that point out, not having a go at you. I'm saying that's the way it is in any generation.
Well, I mean, the whole thing about Tinder is about physical appearance, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't use it.
Of course, yeah. Well, that's what you're scrolling through Tinder.
And what do you think it is when you're in a pub or in a bar or in a cafe or?
Yeah, but you've still got the opportunity to approach that person and have a chat. You don't have that on Tinder unless you both match. Do you know what I mean? So in a pub, I can walk up to a girl and go, "Hey, how are you?" She might shut me down. Yeah. Which 9 times out of 10 she probably would. But on Tinder, you don't even have that opportunity to message someone or approach someone unless you both match. Yeah. Which comes down to physical attraction.
Yeah. Well, going back to relationships, the best thing that I remember growing up and in my early 20s was you had friends and you had things going on. You make a commitment to do something and you show up.
Yeah.
So without mobile phones, without computers, without the internet and all that sort of stuff, if you had friends, you would make a commitment to meet somewhere and you'd be there. Yeah. And if there was 5 of you and every time it was the same four, eventually the 5th one would drop off or you wouldn't bother. Yeah. So then what grew there were really bonding, strong friendships. And the way we tended to meet new people was through friends of friends. So it was that connection of face-to-face knowing people, but it was easier when you know someone who's a friend of a friend. It didn't have to be blind dating. It would be, righto, well, I've got 4 of my friends, 2 of them have got girlfriends, 2 don't. And then those 2 girlfriends have got a few single friends and all that, and we'll all go out and there might be 10, 15 of us.
And whatever happens.
And if you click, you click. Yeah. If you don't, so on and so forth.
That's another thing as well. You talk about blind dating, which is not really a thing anymore. Or I don't really see it in my life.
I would say this Tinder rubbish is blind dating because people don't put their worst pictures up.
Yeah, but back in your day, didn't you guys have like massive convention halls that they put together a blind dating set? You turn up and you do the
Bachelor and Spinsters balls.
Yeah. You don't see it anymore.
No, probably because people got too drunk and that's what it was.
It would be good fun.
Yeah, they were all right.
Yeah. Well, you did a dating show back in the day as well, didn't you?
A long time ago. I was about 19. But that was all scripted and pre-written and all that sort of stuff. But if you've got that preconceived idea that women only want that type of bloke and you're not that bloke, then you're going to be...
Look, it's not the fact that I've got a preconceived idea that women only want one thing. It's more the fact that when you've got a dating profile on a dating app, it's very hard to overcome.
I'm only going on what you said. You said you live on the Gold Coast and most of the girls here are gym junkies and they want to meet a guy who's 6 foot tall with big muscles. So whether you believe that or not, it's what you perceive or you project. So if you've got that in the back of your mind that, hey, I'm not 6 foot tall and hey, I'm not muscly, then there's a chance these girls aren't going to like me. Without even giving it a chance. So it doesn't matter what generation you're from.
I understand what you're saying, but it's just not working. Do you know what I mean? You can even see when someone likes you. It pops up and says, "Oh, you got to like. You can pay so much to see who it is." I just don't. No one swipes right. Yeah. So I don't know if that's it might be a me problem.
Yeah.
For example.
So at the beginning of this, you said the best thing about dating in your generation is these online apps, and now you're saying they don't work for you. So how are they the best thing?
Well, for other people out there, it's not just me living in this society. It works for them, obviously. You know what I mean?
It's the best form of finding relationships is generally work.
You reckon? Is that statistical?
Oh, it possibly is, but it's the opportunity to meet people. And it may not be that you meet a co-worker, but you go out with co-workers who have friends.
Yeah, no, for sure. And look, we've all had our mates through high school and whatnot. As you get older, you move away. It is through work. And you actually inevitably end up hanging out with your workmates more than anyone, don't you? Yeah, for sure. I think you and me are a little bit of an exception, but... But yeah, for sure. The more I think about that, it makes sense. Yeah.
So you're going to change your answer from the penthouse to the outhouse? Is the dating apps?
No, I'm not, because as I said, it's not just me living in the society. It works for a lot of people. A lot of people are out there swiping, and it obviously works because they're still around as a probably billion-dollar company right now. It's just who you're competing with.
And there is always
you can't tell me that
to the rule.
Yeah, of course, but you can't tell me having thousands of girls at your fingertips swiping is not better than actually physically having to go to the pub.
I think you get the same results. It's not about going to the pub. That's the last place you want to go.
Well, how did you meet women back in the day?
Through our football team.
Through our football team.
Yeah, through sport, all that sort of stuff. The crowds come and watch, and we'll hang around and watch other games, and you just get to know people.
I think a lot of it back in the 80s and 90s when you grew up was definitely more centred around physical communication as opposed to online communication.
Well, it had to be. There was no online
exactly. And that in itself is definitely in the penthouse. But you've just got so much more opportunity these days. Online. You do?
Yeah, I just don't believe in the opportunities you're getting.
Well, for other people...
Because they're shallow. A lot of them are shallow.
Yeah.
And they're fake, and they're not being honest and truthful. Because as you say, you've got to give this perception of someone who you're not necessarily are.
If someone's shallow and fake, they've got to be shallow and fake online or in real life anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you can tell from across the room if someone's being cheap and nasty and fake.
So what are we deciding? What was better, technology or no technology?
I didn't know it was a comparison. A competition.
Well, penthouse and outhouse.
Well, for me, outhouse is very similar to go somewhere. So, for example, my local football team had a pub, and it was about 5 k's away. Drink driving was just coming in, where you couldn't do it. It was sort of frowned upon. So,
hang on, sorry. So before the 80s, you could drink drive.
Well, no one really cared. It was quite common practice. There were no breath testing, all that sort of stuff. It's just if you're swerving all over the road, police might pull you over and talk to you, and if you look inebriated, they might arrest you. But yeah, very rare.
Wow. Okay.
Often they'd probably just say, "Get out of the car and walk home," or "Get a cab," or something like that.
Wow. So no fines or anything like that?
I can't remember. I wasn't driving at the time.
Shit. Yeah. Okay.
So it was before my driving time. But yeah, it was just sort of phasing in the mid to late 80s and getting serious, and the under 05 or you're under arrest sort of ad campaign came out. But anyway, back to the story. So to get the pub, if I hadn't organised anything with anyone and it wasn't football season or it wasn't a training day, then it was a leap of faith that you'd meet up with one of your footy mates up there. So to walk or catch a bus or do whatever to get 5 k's up the road, and then to get there and find there's no one there. But rarely did that happen.
So we're okay. So we're talking strictly penthouse right now.
No, that was outhouse.
Not outhouse. Okay, so outhouse. Technology helps so much with not so much picking up women, but with relationships with your mates.
It does help.
You can at least message someone and go, "Hey, I'm going up to the pub. You going to be there? Yep, sweet, no worries." As opposed to taking a leap of faith, like you said.
Yeah. But what I find with you is this whole ghosting thing. You just refuse to reply and you don't answer phone calls and stuff like that. And that, to me, breaks down relationships and friendships. And it breaks down that trust and respect. and then it's this disconnection. So the friendships I had growing up were as thick as thieves. You know, you could ask someone to do something, and you knew 100% if they said yes, they were going to do it. Where you know that we're travelling from maybe a 10k radius to go somewhere. You don't want to let that person down by not showing up.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, you could send them a message saying, hey, sorry, I can't make it today. This was organised last week. We're going to be there. And more often than not, there'd be different footy teams, all this sort of stuff. We'd end up at the same place at a certain time. It was just, I see it as respect. Yeah,
I guess when you come from that sort of viewpoint, it is, you've got a lot more trust in your mates. A lot more trust in your mates. If you say you're going to be there, you say you're going to be somewhere, you're going to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are anomalies that pop up, and you go, oh, hey, there's a bit of an emergency, I can't make it, and you couldn't do that back then. And you said before, the fourth or fifth guy might have got phased out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it might have not been his fault. It might have been an emergency.
I'm not talking the one-off time. I'm talking, if this happens continuously over months, it's not like you're going to say, no, you're not welcome. It's just you don't bother asking them.
Yeah.
And if they show up knowing, like, we would have... There was 3 of us for a fair period there. We all had different jobs and were in different areas. But we would meet at the same pub at the same time on a Thursday evening at about 6 o'clock. And one of the guys would come probably 60% of the time. But we didn't continue to ring on the landline to say, hey, you're coming.
If he popped up, he
knew where we were there.
He knew you'd be there, yeah.
But me and the other mate, we would be contacting each other every Thursday morning saying, yeah, you're right, do you want a lift? Blah, blah, blah.
It's just insane. Like, so you called someone on a landline at 8 o'clock in the morning before they went to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. And if you weren't home, you weren't home.
No, sometimes you'd have to ring the pub, and the pub would call out over the bar, is so-and-so here. But because the pub was our sponsor for the footy team, so we knew all the staff knew all of us, all that sort of stuff. Where I don't know what it's like these days. I'm guessing most teams, like the Burleigh Bears and whatnot, have got their own watering holes and stuff like that. But with it, as much as mobile phones and the internet is a positive thing, it is not as equal, but there are a lot of negatives about it. And I think the most damage done is to relationships, friendships,
especially trust, dating, with relationships and friendships.
Yeah. And I've honestly had to train myself to expect that you're not going to show up. And that's not a personal attack. I've just accepted, okay, your generation are quite comfortable saying, yeah, we'll do this tomorrow, and then ghost you, And...
Well, it does cast my generation in a negative light, but you know what I mean?
It's not expected, but it's just accepted from your generation.
I guess you could say that.
And it's...
there are a lot of people out there that would be my age who would say, no, that's just being a shit person. And it's being a shit person. But
if you don't know any better, and that's the way your generation grows up, that's the way it is. But when you've come from a different culture, which you enjoyed the way it was done, to see it done differently, if you don't know what's going on, which I'm guessing a lot of the audience that might be my age are listening to, they might take a lot of offence to your age group, just cutting them off or not showing up.
Well, put it this way. From your perspective, would you rather, for example, mobile phones and the internet never been invented?
Oh, I'm not like that.
I know you're not like that, but...
Life is all about progress and getting better. So, yeah, it's got to be part of life.
So, obviously, we've got to progress and remove from society the fact that people just don't show up. You see what happens?
It's up to them. What I would suggest, though, is...
Well, actually, it's a good question, Tony. It's a good lead.
What can be improved?
What can be improved,
So, my thought process around this is, if you're offended by someone doing it, take a look at why you're offended. And is it because you don't accept their way of doing things and your way is supposedly better? Or as long as I go, right, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If someone else chooses not to do that way, then that's out of my control. I can't do anything about it.
Well, it's all about communication, isn't it?
Yeah, but I accept that person, that's the way it's going to be, and I just live with it and got to move forward. Yeah, I'll get annoyed at times and a little bit disappointed, but I can't control it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but it still doesn't excuse the fact. I mean, last week was a prime example, and a lot of the times it's just sporadic, isn't it? It just happens. You don't know. You ever wake up, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. You go, oh, shit, I've got to be somewhere in 4 or 5 hours.
But I guess when people are offended, you got to sometimes look at why people are offended, and quite often like we all do in human nature, we start questioning if it's something about me. Have I done something wrong?
Yeah.
So you then think, okay, well, if it was me and I'm in that situation, I prioritise that person as a friend, therefore I'm going to be there. And if I flip that, if that person just ditched me and went on a date with someone, or I shouldn't say that because you'd probably let that if they were single, they decided to go to the movies or something instead of going and catching up with you. You've got to start questioning, well, hang on, at the drop of a hat, does that mean I'm less important and I'm not that big a friend because the new movie that came out is more important to them and doesn't bother telling you, just doesn't show up. You know, I can imagine employers, and I've heard a few of them say it, that they get employees, they don't even ring up to say they're sick or send a message to say they're sick.
I don't understand
they just don't show up.
I don't understand that at all. I mean, I've never had a sick day since I'm in my current employment, but I don't understand what the thought process is of someone who is in bed at home, they're legitimately sick, not to call their employee or not to even message their boss just to say, hey, I'm sick. Yeah. Just not to turn up to work, that's not on. Yeah. Yeah. And I've had a couple of my staff as well that do the same thing. They just don't turn up, and you call them at 9:15, and you just go, what's going on? Yeah. Oh, I'm sick, I'm not coming in. Well, thanks for the heads up, mate. Like,
So if you want to really dissect that, one of the options there could be, again, going back to communication. Do your employees feel afraid to say, hey, I'm not coming in the fear that someone goes, no, you either come in or you're sacked?
Well, so, I never take that step.
I'm not saying you would, but if you've got employees, as in I'm talking to the audience, if you've got employees and this has happened, maybe take a look at the way you've communicated to them and given them the opportunity.
No, agreed. And if you're not creating a comfortable environment for your employees, then obviously that's...
It doesn't even mean that.
Hey, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that look at the way that you're obviously managing your employees, but I think a lot of it is absent-mindedness. People just don't care. They don't even think about it.
I'm still thinking there's a bit of fear in there as well.
You reckon?
Yeah.
But surely the consequences is if you don't message or if you don't call, it's going to be...
They don't think of that. They're moving away from pain. So if the pain point is, what could go wrong if I ring, it's easy to stay away from the call. They're not thinking, if I don't ring, what's going to happen? If they're only focusing on, should I ring, should I not ring? If I don't ring, of course there are going to be some that just don't bother. And this may not be the employer's responsibility, or the employee's fault. I won't say responsibility, I'll say fault. The employer might not be at blame. It could be the individual that just doesn't feel secure. So it's not about, hey, you're the employer, take a good hard look at how you're communicating with your employees. It might not be that you're doing something wrong, but you can open up to them and say, hey, look, guys, I generally, when you're sick, I don't want you here because you give it to other people. Please just let me know so we can keep going. Yeah. And you might think you say that, but if they're not doing it, then you are either not doing it enough or they're never going to do it, so get rid of them. Yeah.
Right, now...
Next question. How much was a dog?
Can you explain to the viewers? Because I had no idea what you meant.
Costs. So how much was things costing around your day when it came to relationships and friendships and stuff like that?
I think this one's always going to be pretty straightforward for relationships and whatnot because things were cheaper back in your day.
No, but relative. So let's say you got a first date. How much do you reckon you'd go and spend, and what would you spend it on?
Oh, I've only been on about 3 or 4. You might go out for dinner and have a couple of drinks or whatnot. $100. Yep. Yeah.
Are you going Dutch or are you paying?
I'd personally, I'd always offer to pay. Not, I'm all for equality and whatnot, but personally, I would offer to pay. And if they said no, I wouldn't get offended or anything like that. We'll go halves or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think back in your day, it was a little bit different though, wasn't it?
Yeah, chivalry was still sort of alive and kicking, and if it was going to be dinner or something like that, I would generally pay. Yeah. Yeah, I think $50 would have covered it back then quite easily.
Did you tip back in the day? Because you don't tip anymore.
Not really.
Yeah, okay.
I've always sort of made an effort. So if the meal was like $17, I'd pay $20.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. So just round it up. I'm not going to pick up the change off the tray sort of thing.
Yeah, the thing is in Australia, though, that's not going to go to your server. That's got to go to the business.
No, I don't think so.
You don't reckon?
No. But it's just not expensive. I mean, the business doesn't want $10 at the end of the night. But if you understand, in the States, servers and waitresses and waiters and stuff like that, they get 50 cents an hour, some of these places. Where here you're getting 20, 25.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Their system they've got to set up. So what did you do for a standard date back in the day?
Well, a lot of it, because it was connections through friends, there wasn't a lot of dating going on. So you'd be hooking up, going out clubbing, going,
so with a group,
wherever.
With a group,
going out to dinners and stuff like that. And relationships would develop, and then it was you never really had a first date because you've been sort of seeing each other for a while, and then you might start going to dinner or cooking or something like that. I was always a big fan of cooking myself because I love to cook.
Yeah.
And I don't like paying for food.
Yeah, well, not when you can make it at home, for sure.
Yeah. And that's not a cheap thing. I really despise going to a restaurant and having to pick something because there's generally so much good stuff.
Oh, mate, it takes me about 15 minutes to have a look through it,
The dreaded thought of picking something and it's worse than what you would make at home.
Yeah. Especially like a bolognese or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've covered the last question. What was the crack? How did it impact society, and what was the general consensus and whatnot?
Yeah, well, I guess where you go there is divorce rates and friendship rates. I think from a friendship ratio, I had a much broader friend base because it was all based around
you had
sport.
More?
Yeah.
You had a bigger friend group in your 20s? I think that's...
Not a group, it was a base. So I had football mates, I had cricket mates, I had all these different sporting teams that I'd hang out with, and then there were guys that I was connected with through trivia and
but surely,
different things that
surely as you get older there, Dan, your friend base, as you call it, would get smaller. Because you're no longer playing footy.
Possibly.
You know what I mean? You're especially in your line of work, you don't really interact with too many people. You know what I mean?
But where's your friend base at? You know what I mean? If I was your age, I would have a friend base of about 60, 70 people.
Oh, I definitely did have that a couple of years ago. I'd say I'd know 60 or 70 people, but I've probably got about 10 to 15 people that I can call up and do something with. Once again, it comes down to my hobbies and interests as well, though. You know, I don't like change. I'm very one-track minded and do what I do.
It's not like adaptability either as a strength.
No, it's not at all.
Yeah.
I actually left work yesterday. I think I told you before. And Bordeaux has just moved back down to Sydney, so he wasn't an option. Kane didn't return my calls. I said, you weren't coming out. One of my other mates, she went back home with her boyfriend, so I knew that was an option. I was just it was the first time in about 3 or 4 years, actually. I've just gone, what do I do? Yeah. It was quite eye-opening.
And then I guess the divorce rate. I mean, I think my parents' age group, divorce was pretty much
the boomers,
unheard of.
Yeah.
So they were pretty solid. I think it was my age group that started coming through that those divorce rates were around the 50%. I don't know if it's improved. I'm guessing...
Is it 50%?
Something like that. 1 in 2.
Shit.
Maybe it was 1 in 3. But nowadays, I think it's just the marriage age has just increased dramatically.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but I think my grandparents, the boomers, for example, they were getting married at 19, 20, 21, 22.
My mum was 19, my dad was 23.
How did they meet?
My mum's dad was my dad's boss.
Your mum's dad was your dad's boss?
I think.
Right.
It was either before they met or Dad went to work for him after they met. I can't remember.
And they got married at 19 and 23, you said?
I think so.
That's insane.
Yeah, I think so.
Even now, I mean, it's a very, very small percentage to what it was back in the day, but I see on social media people who are my age or even younger than me getting pregnant and getting married and things like that.
Okay. There's not as many.
Oh, no, nowhere near as many. But
I'd say now it's probably up around the mid-30s you might find the average age of marriage.
Yeah, and I think a lot of women actually take their career.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to come across as being sexist here, but a lot of women are starting to realise that they are very independent on their own. They want to focus on their career, and obviously, getting married and having babies is going to get in the way of that. Which wasn't really a sort of even back in your day. I think it's only been the last sort of 15 years.
No, I think the 90s, women were starting to break through, and
I think a lot of it comes down to media as well.
Oh, it's housing prices too.
Yeah, they started skyrocketing around there. Yeah. True.
So having to have those dual incomes and all that sort of stuff. Oh, there's plenty of reasons, and please don't contact us saying you forgot this. That's not what this topic's about. But yeah, we sort of touched on that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Answers the questions. Don't know if it's interesting, but we'll see how
we'll throw it together and see how it goes.
Yeah. So that's segment 1, I reckon. Pretty good.
Yep.
Time for Mad Maximizer. So this is where we sort of incorporate our strengths. That's some of the stuff I do in my coaching is Gallup strengths. My number 1 strength is Maximizer. Therefore, my segment will be around something that I come across that I feel that can make better. And that's what Maximizer is about. It might come across as a bit critical at times, but...
It's not whining, it's how things can improve.
Yeah. And I see it as, okay, this isn't good enough, let's make it better. Where a lot of people, all they hear is, this isn't good enough. And I just keep... They think I'm just continuing to say, this isn't good enough, this isn't good enough.
One thing that you do very, very well is that when you talk about a problem, you always try and find a solution.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people out there, they just whine about something. And
Yeah.
so, well, what's the point in whining unless you're going to offer a solution?
Yeah. And that's my ideation as well. I'm always looking for better ideas. So Maximiser today, look, there's so many that go through my mind. It's a matter of...
Let me guess, banking.
Banking?
Hates of banks.
Yeah. I don't know if I've used this one before, have I?
What one?
Banking.
You have, about twice.
It just keeps happening. Keeps rolling up, and I don't understand it. So I've got a few different bank accounts. I've got direct debit set up, so where money comes out automatically to pay for bills. And some of the companies that I work for, they pay me on a certain day, and for God knows what reason, it takes 3 or 4 days to get there. And then I'll contact that organisation, I'll change the banking details. A week later, they're still sending it to the old bank, where the new bank account is looking to withdraw that money to pay for a bill. It doesn't get paid. So this example I caught on the Friday afternoon. Straight over, I went, right, that's gone to the wrong account. I sent it straight over to the CBA, which is one of the big 4 banks in Australia. So they should have Osco.
It's not the CBA's problem, it's BOQ's problem. They don't have Osco.
Hang on. So it doesn't matter whose fault it is. Every bank should have this facility because it is out there. Everyone can use it. You cannot tell me it costs more. That's rubbish.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It's an internet thing. So I send the money first thing Friday afternoon, so about 4 o'clock. And then I realised, hang on, there's not quite enough. So I transferred an extra $15. All right? So maybe half an hour apart at worst. Then on the Sunday, they try and take the direct debit out. So the original bank sending the deposit doesn't deposit the money till Monday because they don't work on weekends. Yet the direct debits can come out on a Sunday, which is a weekend.
Yeah.
But to make matters worse, it then carries over to the Monday. The first payment arrives on the Monday. The second payment of $15, which was sent half an hour later, comes on the Tuesday.
And you get a penalty fee.
Get a penalty fee because they try to take it out again on the Monday.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't understand that. Obviously, the banking system works to a certain extent, but I just don't understand why it takes that long for money to go through an account.
Cop this. One of them was an internet bill for $60.
Yeah.
The penalty fee, $15. 25% of the bill.
Sort your shit out.
You're talking to the bank there, not me.
Yeah, sort your shit out.
And now they're going to raise interest rates.
I've told you this before. Get rid of your BOQ account. They seem useless.
It's not as easy as pie. And I've tried to tell you this a million times.
Just get rid of it.
You can't.
Just get rid of it.
You can't. When you're self-employed, you can't just switch banks whenever you feel like it. When you've got home loans.
Well, BOQ, sort your shit out.
Anyway.
All right, so
that's bad maximising. Get Osco.
Get Osco.
Every bank should
Osco
be using
facilities
Osco.
for sure, or cryptocurrency. Yeah. All right, so my number one strength is positivity. So my segment's got to be based around something I find amusing or something positive going around in the world or something like that. Mal-nosed boats. Put a little bit of a funny spin. It's not funny at all what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, but a tweet by Elon Musk caught my eye the other day. He sent a tweet directly to the Kremlin, offering one-on-one combat with Vladimir Putin.
Right.
The winner gets Ukraine.
Wow. As in fisticuff.
Fisticuffs, yeah. One-on-one combat. The winner of the one-on-one fight gets to decide what happens to Ukraine, which I thought was quite.
So, what position does Elon Musk think
he
has the authority
he doesn't.
to be able to do that?
Exactly. He's basically gambling a whole country on how well he can blue.
Yeah.
But he sent the tweet to the Kremlin. It was a mix between English and Russian. So he did his research. Obviously, it was a proper call out. Yeah. And then I think it was about an hour later, he sent another tweet saying, "Have you got my call out? What's your answer?"
Yeah, actually, I saw on LinkedIn the other day, Arnold Schwarzenegger has come out and made a 10-minute sort of ad.
I saw that, yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I started watching it on TikTok. I didn't watch the whole thing. What was it about?
Just his experience with the Russians and how he liked them, and then he sort of went into why the Russians aren't being told the truth about what's going on, and some of the troops were told it was just a training exercise and then found they're caught in it.
Fair dinkum.
Others were told that the Ukrainians started the war and they've got to go and save, all these Russian national locals that are caught up in Ukraine. And
see, this is
it's media. I don't know how true it is.
That's
I'm not really following it, but it was a touching story that he was saying, "Hey, let's be human. Let's just try and sort this out."
Exactly, 100%. Exactly. And this is probably a topic that we're going to talk about in the podcast. I'd say media. I don't trust media at all, and I think that you have put a level of not cynicism but skepticism when it comes to listening to the media and taking everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's all propaganda. It is.
Yeah,
it's just
all
propaganda.
one-sided.
And
a lot of it is one-sided.
A lot of what Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm not saying that what he was saying was incorrect, but a lot of what he was saying could have been incorrect.
Yeah,
it's just propaganda, man. It really grinds my gears.
Try and get both sides of the story, I believe.
Well, there's always three.
Yeah. Yours, mine, and the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, heard that one. So we're going to bring back Crypto Corner.
Yeah.
Just as a little bit of fluff. So we did have this session or segment back in 2021 and we went our separate ways in what we thought we were going to do. So I'm going to continue down that path. But you always listen and learn and find some stuff. So I'm plodding along, trying to learn as much as I can. I've got I'm not going to call it a trading plan because I'm not actually trading, but my investment plan.
Strategy, yeah.
Investment strategy, and that's going well, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And every day I find something new on the blockchain and how they're trying to develop things. And then when you compare all this crap that I go through with banks and them withholding money and taking fees and paying all this extra stuff, it makes so much most sense to get rid of the middleman. It's just how safe it is, not sure.
But this is your maximizer as well, going so much. The system is so much better. Yeah,
my futuristic feeding, what's going to come on down the track, and there's so much to learn and so much to know. It's hard to gauge.
But. Well, half the reason why I struggled with it, or I found it a bit of a challenge. I mean, the more that you learn, do you understand? The more that do you start to be aware? The more that you don't know as well.
It doesn't bother me.
Doesn't bother.
I want to get on the path of learning what I want to learn. So rather than sitting here bitching and moaning, complaining about the banks and fees and stuff like that, I want to find solutions. And this could be a possible solution. So I'm constantly looking for better ways to do things, and this might open the door to doing that sort of stuff. In what field, I'm not sure. We've discussed the floating islands and stuff like that where... there's no governments. They want to work under the Polynesian sort of government, but not... So there'll be that humanity sort of way, but from my understanding, the whole blockchain community are looking for this independence from the man or the big brother or whatever. And it's sort of counterproductive to me because I sort of get the image that anyone who's going to be able to buy one of these islands is going to be filthy rich, so it's not really going to help the poor. But apparently these islands are sinking or the water's rising and...
It's the Cook Islands, I think.
Is it? I thought it was Tahiti, and if that's the same thing. But anyway, in 50 years, they're saying that half of these islands are going to be underwater, so they're going to need civilizations to live in. They're trying to put these things together. Whether that's through the blockchain or not, that was where I found it, through the sort of environment. And then,
so what have you done the last week? Oh, by the way, we're not giving financial advice or anything like that.
No. Definitely not.
Talk about experience.
I sort of went quiet for a week or two, knowing that the US federal government were talking about interest rate rises and people pulling out of crypto if that happens too high because they're scared and fearful and it's too risky. So I thought I'll sit back and see what happens. I think they may have raised them 25 points, which is 0.25%. But we'll see.
Yeah, inflation's rife over there, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not too worried if it goes up or down at the moment. I'm just looking to buy a volume of coins. Obviously, the lower I can get them, the better. But if they drop a bit or if they go up a bit, I've got my target of how many coins I want in that particular coin. Yeah, see where it goes in a few years' time.
Lovely. Yeah. All right, well, that's...
sounding good.
Yeah, so that's basically the podcast wrapped up, I think.
We've still got to upload it to some podcast platform.
Yeah, Apple Podcast, yeah.
We've got it on YouTube, which you can find at... the Choose Your Chapter YouTube channel, which is my business name, where I've already set up a channel. You could also email us at genxy@chooseyourchapter.com.au, and then you're going to handle the socials, aren't you?
Yeah. Got to do a bit of editing myself, so we've got a TikTok and an Instagram account set up. Both of them are the same handle. It's Gen_XY_. Gen_XY_.
2 underscores.
Yeah, well, you've got to take what you can have.
Yeah.
Problem with social media and emails as well is you can only... You've got to create your own bloody tag because everything's taken out there. It's ridiculous. Yeah, so we're just going to upload a few videos and segments from the podcast each week up on there. So if you come across us, obviously what we're going to do is we're going to tag in the bottom of these videos where you can find us on the podcast app and on YouTube.
Yeah. Find us on YouTube. Please share and like and subscribe is the good one because that way you get notified every time we upload one.
Yeah. For sure.
If you don't want to look at our ugly mugs, try and find us on the podcast and you can just listen.
I'd probably recommend that one for sure. Yeah.
And obviously, coming down the track, I'm keen to hopefully interview a couple of people that might have some form of influence.
Well, I'd like to get someone above your generation as well. Do you know what I mean? And even if we get someone just a little bit below my generation to come and have a bit of a chat.
I've got someone in mind, but I won't say not what you're talking about, someone different, but... I think it'd be a different, interesting aspect, but I'll bring up the name once we try and contact them.
Done.
All right, so you know how to find us. If you've got any ideas or topics or want us to delve into any sort of suggestions, please let us know. Email, socials, all that sort of stuff. We're not going to give a postal address, so forget getting stamps. But outside of that, that'll probably wrap us up. Close to 40 minutes. So that's a good length, I
want to say one thing as well.
Okay.
Vale Shane Warne.
What?
Vale Shane Warne.
Vale Shane Warne. I'd say rest in peace, Shane Warne.
And Rod Marsh.
And, Bacchus. All right, well, that's us. That's GenXY or Generation XY. I'm Danny Crouch. Bye for now.
I'm Malcolm Paynter. See you later.